Coming up on OTH, Raymond and I talk about Santorin's return, League of Legends content, and then dive into week 9 of the LCS Summer Split with potential rookies and MVP of the split, and the first matchups of the LCS Championship playoffs taking place this weekend. We hope you enjoyed this episode of On the Hunt. Welcome everybody to episode 24 of On the Hunt, a League of Legends podcast. I'm your co-host Chris, aka Mr. Dusty Fingers, because I've been eating a lot of hot Cheetos lately, and I love hot Cheetos, dude.
I knew it was going to be Cheetos as soon as you said it.
Really, not Doritos or anything. I don't really like to eat Doritos, but I mean they're good. I just don't like to eat them.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just the feeling.
I feel more guilty eating Doritos for some reason.
That's
probably
weird.
equally
Yeah,
as
that's
bad.
weird.
Yeah, maybe it's a branding issue or something.
Call up Doritos, say, hey, you make me feel too guilty. Figure that shit out.
Yeah, but give me the contact. Give me the phone number, and I'll do it. And joining me on this episode of the On the Hunt podcast is our other co-host Raymond. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just going through. Been playing a lot of Abrams lately. Not a lot going on this week, but you know, just chilling. We got all the way through one regular season of the LCS.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's true. A full year of the LCS, including lock-in tournament in our podcast, episode 24, the first season. But it's not over yet, dude.
It's not over yet.
There's the job isn't done. Unfortunately, we've got more NALCS to watch.
Phew. Thank God.
Or not watch. Depends on you.
True. I guess that's true.
But yeah, me as well. I think I had a good ARAM night with the boys on Friday.
Yeah.
Played till like 2 a.m. and I think we lost a lot. And of course the last game was a win.
Right.
That's the only way to go.
I mean, of course, that's the only time that you play ARAMs until like 2 a.m. You know, just when you have those long streaks, it's always because you're not winning, and then you can't end in a loss. Everyone knows that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I'm glad you finally made it, dude. It would have been tragic if you were still stuck in the ARAM queue. Come now, Tuesday.
Yeah, dude. Actually, it occurred to me that there's like the way that the ARAM reroll system works is that you get one roll after every game if you own a certain number of champions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that since I've always had enough. And so it's always made me mad when other people don't roll at least once because I feel in my head you should always have one roll. But I didn't know that people don't get rolls every time.
Yep.
Maybe it's just
I thought you were an ARAM
maybe
main,
it's my
dude.
elo though.
Like you should know these things.
Yeah. Well, the people in my ARAM elo should have a roll, unless they have like an ARAM account.
The people in your ARAM elo probably have ARAM only accounts, dude. Like they're exactly the people that won't have the roles.
I've actually like thought about doing something like that before, but then you don't get the blue essence on your main anymore, and then the Emporium comes around, you get screwed. And then also like I can't be bothered to make another account. There's too much that goes into it.
Yeah.
And then also getting all of the chests and the keys to get unlocked in your main account, and then orange essence. Yeah, it's way too much.
Yeah. Then also people
you're
just would
disincentivized.
make total fun of you for having an ARAM only account. So like.
Yeah, I would make it obvious too. I would name it like
ARAM Rancher.
Yeah.
That'd be a good name though. You could do it. I'd let you do it if you got that name.
The Rancher.
Yeah, the ARAM Rancher.
Yeah, or the Rammer, something like that.
Something simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it before. There's not much to discuss this week other than the LCS. But before that, I just been watching the same old things. I think I watched The Next Level. I actually watched the older one with Perks.
Mm-hmm.
So that was last week's. I haven't seen the newer one with Void Boy. And then I've been watching a lot of the usual content as well. I think I watched a bit of what's that call it with Travis Gafford and Mark Z, the call show.
Oh, Hotline League. I was like,
yeah, that one.
I thought there was like a different show.
I'm
like, what the hell are you talking about?
No. And then I listened to The Dive. I listened to Summoning Insight. I think I watched a couple of Travis Gafford interviews. I watched one with Santorin, who's back, by the way. We can talk about that in a bit. And then I think I watched an interview with Ender, but like I don't really get much out of it other than his story. Um, yeah, that's it. I guess I listened to a lot of content this week though.
Did you? Though I think the only thing really memorable for me this week. Did you watch any of the recap of Double Sneaky Medias's co-stream of the Monty Hall problems and um, the infinite typewriter monkey problems when they were talking about those? Did you see any of those clips?
No, I kind of I haven't watched any recaps, and I think when it was happened live, I think I missed the monkey one because the monkey one happened at like the start of an episode,
Yeah,
or no, it happened in the middle of a day. But then the monkey one, I know the Monty Hall one. Sorry, that one happened after like the first game on like Sunday or something like that. So I caught that one right away. Um, and yeah, so I did hear that one. But yeah, what about it?
I don't know. That was like I think that was the only one of. It's been a while since like I've watched the any of the co-streams like for an extended period of time. Like I'll tune in for a game or two or whatever. It just depends on how my game's day is going. But that was like I went on YouTube to watch like the recap like for that week, just like like that was doublest video of it. Like I think that's probably the first time that I've gone back and watched like one of those whole like hour long co-stream summary videos that Double puts
Uh-huh.
out. But that was fucking funny. Like, I mean, it was probably half hour to 40 minutes of not anything gameplay related. It was just talking about those dumbass things that they were going over, but it was fucking funny to listen to.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it was funny. I'll probably have to go back and watch it. I think I did. I think I did. There was like one time where like I saw the game live and then I watched the replay as well.
Hmm.
I think it was a TSM game where like I think Spica comes on at the end and he's like, I don't need Zanya's or some shit like that. So it was those were good old times. I think I watched one again when I think Haunter was on,
Yeah.
and I think Spica came on for the next game or something like that. So it was the three of them. That was pretty cool. And I kind of wish that happened more often, but I'm pretty sure that's not allowed.
I think
But
it's fine to
but oh
have them
well.
on co-streams. I think like from what I remember, I think on co-streams you have to like ask like Riot to have like approve any guests that you have, but I think they can be on co-streams since those are now like officially Riot supported and stuff too. It's not just like a live viewing or something.
Yeah, I think it's technically like a watch party or something like that.
Right,
Yeah,
that's like the
but
branded name for it.
yeah, there's that. I think and then maybe I'll keep an eye out for TSM Legends this week since they finished in first place.
True.
I keep spoiling everything,
Yeah, dude, come on. Like we're not even to that section yet of the show.
but I know,
You
right?
probably got a hot date after
Um,
this and you're just trying to get through it all real quick, huh?
Something like that. Yeah, just fastest episode possible. What can we do? 10 minutes. We could probably bust through it.
Yeah.
No, but as mentioned earlier, a roster move that came for this week of week 9 in the LCS is suddenly Santorin is back. I didn't really see anything about it on the internet. Just suddenly I noticed that he was in for Friday's game, I believe,
Oh yeah.
and
I mean, they
then he ended
announced
up
it
playing the whole weekend.
like they put out stuff on Team Liquid socials. He wasn't just randomly in.
If they did, dude, I didn't see that shit, and I didn't see it on Reddit or anything. So I was extremely surprised and delighted, especially because they won two of their games this weekend. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see that he's back and able to play, and then hopefully he can get into shape right before the summer split playoffs. But yeah, we'll talk about that more, of course.
Yeah, I think definitely good to see him back. I think he did an interview with Travis too. That's probably good to watch to hear about what he said. Uh, like about how his recovery has been going, but I didn't watch that shit.
Yeah, I did watch that one. Yeah, that's he just kind of explained what like the health issue that he's had for a bit, and it was interesting to hear. And also like him coming back into the team and like having not played the game for like almost 5 weeks or something like that.
Mm,
It's really interesting.
yeah. Did he say like it was Jat? He hit me with a belt and shit, and it gave me migraines. And now that he's gone, I've finally like worked through the trauma or something like that. Or
It was exactly
okay.
that. Except he was getting strangled by the belt, and
Oh,
that it like caused oxygen not to flow.
yeah.
I'm
That
just
makes
kidding.
sense. Jeez,
No, it really
you'd
doesn't.
think that Team Liquid would have like a team doctor on staff saying like, look, this is probably what's happening, chat. Maybe lay off the belt, but they just couldn't figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, maybe it's no, I won't involve Alienware shenanigans.
At least it's not like a Bud Light sponsored segment.
Yeah, Bud Light sponsored belt.
The Bud Light belt.
Now that just sounds like a wrestling thing,
Yeah,
like the championship.
that's true.
Another roster move that I technically didn't write down was that 100 Thieves played their whole academy roster for the Sunday game, which in a weird way had implications for how standings would end out if 100 Thieves were to lose that game.
Which they did.
It's kind of just, yeah, which they did, and it did affect the standings because Cloud9 won their Sunday game as well. And I guess a lot of people were upset that 100 Thieves did put their team in, but I don't really care. Do you?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's I don't know. There was some other complaints about playoff stuff this week. Like, and I don't know. Everything that I've heard like about complaints about seeds and people doing like this shit, it just all sounds like you're a big fucking baby. You should have just won more games. Like C9,
That's my opinion too.
yeah, like 100 Thieves was obviously like they didn't even have that bad of a summer, but they had a bad summer and like bad showings like throughout at certain points, right? Like if you're C9 and you're complaining that 100 Thieves not playing their roster or whatever is reason that you're not getting third when you should have just been beating up on other teams instead of dicking off and not playing Sven or whatever, then you're just focusing on the wrong things. I think like that's definitely 100 Thieves like locked top two, and that's as much as you need to do. Like after Friday, they knew they're not getting first, right? Like you can do whatever you want. It's all up to you.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Monte Cristo put it the best way is like if you really cared, then Cloud9 had 44 other opportunities
Right.
to fix their game score at that time of writing. So I could see, I see why people are butthurt, but then they're just like wrong. They're incorrect about being butthurt.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really care too much.
Yeah, I think the other thing I saw people complaining about was this like the playoffs format and how there's not a reseeding after the first round, like where like last summer they had it where the upper bracket after the 1 and 2 seeds play. So there's like this week you have like the first round of winners, and then the teams that got a bye play the winners of those matches, right? After after that, or I guess before that game, like they were supposed to last year they had it so the 1 seed got to pick their choice of like the first round winners for who they wanted to play. And then this year they changed that so it's back to a fixed bracket. And I saw like I think it was Parth who started it kind of
Yeah,
who was tweeting about like how that's kind of a funky thing to do because now that's why that was part of the implications that 100 Thieves was putting in this roster because then they would lose, but then EG would get third, and then 100 Thieves would like dodge C9 or in their bracket run, and it was like I don't know that matters. That felt like a really weird thing. I don't know if you want to talk about it at all or if you had any opinions there.
I suppose that would matter, but that's another universe from now on. Like
Yeah.
we could think about it or talk about it, and I suppose that's what long form podcasts are for. But I don't care. That's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so, um, I wouldn't even say it's BM either or like unsportsmanlike for 100 Thieves to not try their hardest in the final game, even if it does have implications on um their
Opponents.
yeah, implications on the final standings because it's not like they trolled their game. Like literally, just the starting players weren't there.
Yeah.
Unlike TSM versus Dignitas. And then secondly, there's their 100 Thieves personal standings. I guess it does get affected by not winning.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's interesting.
I don't know. I think it's weird to me. Like I think it's the same thing, right? Like if C9 doesn't have anything to worry about because they were they should have just won, right? If they wanted a higher seed, they should have just won. I think the thing
Yeah.
that was like weird to me about this complaint was that it was like TSM complaining like, oh, now we've got C9 in our side of the bracket when it would have been EG if 100 Thieves had lost or had won that game instead, right? Like that felt pretty weird to me as well. Like you're disrespecting, I think, a lot of those other teams, like saying you like you're already the one seed, like your TSM, you secured first place in the regular season. You shouldn't like unless they were doing something where they were deliberately like the LCS was deliberately putting whoever was the most likely for TSM to lose like in their first round matchup. You're already like at the point where it's one series win takes you to Worlds, right? Like they're guaranteed like top 6 already. You win one game, you go to top 3. All you have to do is play against, you're playing against C9 or TL who both haven't looked good. I don't know why. I don't know why you're even complaining. Like I feel like you don't want EG on your side of the bracket because they've looked like the best team in the LCS, minus maybe TSM, but just different styles. Definitely EG's looking threatening. And then you already have like I think TSM has like 4-1 records against C9 and TL like across this season already. So you're not like I don't know what they're afraid of, like why you would want dynamic reseeding. Like it sounded like the like Parth even made a point to say that if Dig upsets EG, then 100 Thieves gets the easy way out of the winners bracket, and I'm just sitting there thinking like Dig isn't going to upset EG number one, and two, if they do, then I'm probably worried about how good Dig is if they're pulling off that upset because EG has looked really good. Like I don't know. It just all sounded like a really weird thing. Like I just want to be mad about something, and this is what I've decided on.
Okay, I'm following you now, and I'm totally in agreement with you. Like, so you're saying, yeah, if you're first place, you should play the loser of. If you're first place, you should play the loser of fourth and fifth.
Right.
That makes sense to me, strictly. And then whoever happens to be fourth or fifth place, like that's not 100 Thieves' fault, I suppose,
Right.
or anyone else's fault. That's just how the standings ended up after the context of the last 8 months. And so this is just the way that it's ended up, and if you have a problem with it, then request changes for next year. But like there was nothing, there's no like complaints about this leading up to the playoffs or something like that. It's not like
Right.
nobody told them that it's going to be a fixed bracket or not going to be a fixed bracket. I think I was kind of like hearing about that on Summing Inside as well, if like what these complaints shouldn't come out now that it's playoff time,
Right.
like as soon as the format is revealed, that's when you should be complaining. And if they did, then that's great. But like, I'm sure like you're more focused on getting first place because that's important to your brand, and so you should just be happy about that. Just be happy about your standings. And if 100 Thieves wanted to make a run for getting first place or being remembered in history as first place in Summer Split 2021,
Hmm.
that's up to them. But instead, they decided not to.
Yeah. I
And so in history they'll be remembered as second place, even if it was just one game off on the Sunday that they trolled.
right. Yeah, I think the other thing, an important note, I guess, on this too is that I think it was on Hotline League from just last night. They talked about that this was like a deliberate decision for this year after last year's debacle where TSM played Golden Guardians in their first like winners bracket match, right? And they lose. That was like a shit series for them. They go to the lower bracket and then they win one series in the lower bracket against Dig, and Golden Guardians had lost their one series in or next series in the upper bracket against TL, and they went down to the lower bracket to play TSM again with only one series in between, who they had already beaten, and then they proceed to get beaten by TSM and lose, and like leave. They get knocked out of the bracket, and this is like a setup that is deliberately like the decision was made to take those situations away because that could happen anytime there was reseeding going on in the upper bracket, and now there's no way like it'd have to happen as late as losers finals if you lost. Like if C9 and TL, um, if C9 wins, TL goes to losers, then C9 loses to TSM and goes to losers, they would only be able to meet TL as late as the losers finals because they have to have. That's just how it's set up this way. Um, and I think that's that's fair too because I think a lot of people did have that negative sentiment about last year's playoffs where it was it feels bad to essentially go even against a team in best of fives, right? But you lost second, so you're out of the whole tournament instead of having like there's no way that they do a third best of five between those teams to figure out what's happening. But there's just nothing fair. It feels bad, even if it's what was fair in the sense of the bracket.
Yeah, definitely. I think also in addition to add on to what you're saying, I believe the bracket and schedule is also shaped out in a way where a team won't be playing more than once in the same week up to a certain point. And so I'm pretty sure that at no point will any team play more than one game or one best of series that week
Which is good.
across all of
Yeah,
playoffs.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's nice. I mean there are times right where I think that actually well, is that even true? Don't we get that as soon as week two? Don't the losers like have to play like we see let me look at the bracket. Yeah, because we get this week we get round one winners, right? That's the only there's two matches on Saturday and Sunday. And then next week there's Thursday, Friday matches of the first losers bracket. So the people that lost in round one winners play the 7 and 8 seeds, and then the people that won. Oh no, never mind. Okay, never mind. I get it. Never mind. You're right. Yeah, no, that's good. That makes sense.
I mind fucked myself. Let me stare at it for a second.
Yeah, no, I think I was reading the way you'd written this on the spreadsheet, and I was like, where I saw EG versus Dig in two places, and I was like, oh wait, that's it's not winner of one, loser of one, and I mind fucked myself too. But yeah, no, you're right. It's we play one round of matches this week. Losers play at Thursday and Friday of next week. The winners play in Saturday and Sunday of next week, and then the rest is pretty straightforward. It's the same kind of thing. You get losers brackets at the end of the week, and then winners bracket on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, yeah, there we go. And we'll talk about those specific matchups in just a bit. We can go right into the summer split if you want.
Yeah, let's recap week 9 real quick. The final week.
Yeah, so the final week of the summer split ended, the final week of the 2021 LCS year. And up in first place, we've got TSM with a total score of 30 and 15 across the year. I think I don't even know if I want to mention the summer score, although it might be interesting in some points.
Yeah, I don't know that. I feel like you don't need to say it. We can talk about any outstanding performers individually, but at this point, we've got it all.
Yeah, what matters is the total.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right behind them in second place, just one game behind is 100 Thieves at 29 and 16. In third place, we've got Evil Geniuses at 28 and 17. Officially third place, although Cloud9 is in fourth with the same score of 28 and 17.
And
that one might be based off the summer score.
I think no, I think EG got the head to head. Remember, it's a 5 round robins, right? So everybody has a head to head edge on somebody. Like you can't. There's no ties.
Okay, right. You're right. Yeah. So Cloud9 was fourth. Up next, we've got Team Liquid at fifth place. They're one game behind third and fourth at 27 and 18. In sixth place, we have Dignitas Quantum Pay, who went 23 and 22, just barely one game over their losses. Now we're going on to the negative ratios. At seventh place, we've got Immortals at 20 and 25. Barely squeaked in for eighth place is Golden Guardians, who went 14 and 31 across the whole year. Next up, we have FlyQuest at ninth place, who unfortunately get pushed out of playoffs the way that the tiebreakers matched out. And they also went 14 and 31. And then lastly, in 10th place, we have CLG, who went 12 and 33 across the whole year.
CLG. I always just feel bad. It's because they've always been in 10th place. Or not always, but for a while they've been in 10th place. And it's every time you read through that, it's always the last one you say. And so I finally feel like I can talk, right? Like, it's like, okay, we've gone through the standings. Time for me to make a comment. And it's just right there. Like, off the top of my head. CLG is so fucking bad. It's so sad.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I don't even know if CLG has been in playoffs ever since franchising has taken place. Am I wrong about that?
I think you're wrong. I guess I'm trying to think when franchising was actually. But did
Oh,
they not
maybe
have?
there
I
was a
feel like they
team
had
with like
Power of Evil.
Power of
Yeah,
Evil,
I think
a Power of
they
Evil
were good
roster.
with the Power of Evil roster. Like, I mean, made playoffs. Like, definitely right. They were like a top 2 regular season team with that roster. I think.
Really, what Power of Evil and Biofrost? What is that it?
Um, I'd have to check.
Yeah, Stixay, and then So you're telling me I can't even think of their jungler's name. He name changed, I think, so I don't remember
Wiggly.
it.
They had Wiggly, right?
Wiggly,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean it's
Wiggly.
Griffin now, but
So
Wiggly.
you're telling me Wiggly made it through?
Yeah, I think so. Let me check. Okay, when was pre?
I don't remember, to be honest.
When was? Do you remember um what year was
2018 was the
franchising?
first year
2018.
of
Okay, yeah.
franchising. Yeah, because that's the year Double Lift went to TL, and then 100 Thieves came in that year, I believe. Probably not even worth our effort.
Yeah, that's true. They're fucking. It's CLG. They're god awful. Sorry, CLG.
But at least Golden Guardians, they started off pretty badly in the first couple of years, and then last year they did well. This year they're back in playoffs, baby, and so that we're seeing a little bit of improvement there. That's what I like to see
Heck
year
yeah,
after year. Not a lot of improvement, but it's there.
it's true. I mean, I think they looked a lot better as in summer. Like, there's definitely it's definitely market improvement over what their spring performance was, right? Like we saw they were 3-15 in spring and ended 14-31. Like that's a respectable turnaround. Like most improved award definitely goes to Golden Guardians this season or split, I guess.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Definitely compared to their spring season, and then I'm happy. I'm happy when these rookies finally get a full year of playing, and so we can talk rookies. I don't know a full list, but off the top of my head, I might go with like I don't know if Fake God counts. But there's Neo,
I think yeah,
Iconic on Golden Guardians.
yeah. I think a Blaze also counts as a rookie, and then Danny's up there for sure.
Danny's. Does Revenge count?
I think so. I think so.
Well, yeah, they didn't really. I don't think they did a rookie of the split for the spring. So I
Yeah,
would
I think
think
it's
that
just rookie of
everybody
the
who
year.
started this
I think
year
it's just rookie of
is
the year.
eligible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of people to pick from. Um,
I think it's
and
hard. I like off of just the last few weeks, or like recency bias for sure. But it feels like Danny and like a Blaze Olive were definitely getting a lot of hype. Like I think on the broadcast too about rookie of the split or rookie of the year.
yeah,
Which I think is fair. I think I'd probably give the edge more to a Blaze Olive. I mean, it's hard. Danny looked really good, but he also only played in summer, right? Which is more than
yeah,
half of the year, but still only in summer. And then a Blaze's looked decent. Like even with Golden Guardians being really bad last split, I think Ablaze Olive was like one of the high points of the team. Um, there were issues kind of all around with that team with Niles, and bot lane didn't look that great with Nubian. So Ablaze Olive definitely looked like the standout. I think even Neo. I mean, Neo was I think my rookie of the split, like last split. But
I would
before we
agree.
realized that the award didn't exist for just a split. Um, so I think it like I would still probably give him credit that like Dig didn't look as super strong as they did in spring, but or like have as good of a streak as they did in spring, but they still ended like with a respectable record. Like they were above 500 more than the 5 like top teams. Dig was like a step, like a little step, but a step above the teams all below them in playoffs now. So I think Neo probably deserves more credit than I imagine he'll get in the voting because I think that just like Danny and Blaze got a ton of hype.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think I think there's a lot of mentions that could be made. Like Neo, Revenge. I think Danny, of course. I'm very interested with Danny because he's having like first split kind of
Like a honeymoon phase, kind of.
stock raising. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like yeah, his team is
The
popping
same way
off.
that
Yeah,
every AD carry, yeah, every AD carry seems to do that. We've seen it with Tactical. We've seen it with the
I mean Stixay when
the
he
flight,
first
the
started.
flight. Yeah, 6 day. Who was the Flight Quest AD carry?
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like a lot of the AD carries just historically do very well in their first split. sometimes second split of the LCS.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it is probably really easy to be on a team like EG that really turned things around in this last split and has Impact and Jizuke like really popping off. Ignar's playing really well too. Like it's the whole team around him is very good. And then ADC is probably the most plug and play competitive role that you can ask for. And Danny's obviously like really good mechanically and in team fights and stuff. And so that's kind of all he has to do is fit into this team around him that's already pretty good at League of Legends. It's basically what Tactical was last year, right? Like you're fitting into a Team Liquid that has fucking world champion Core JJ supporting you and then, world champion Impact on the top lane. And you still kind of have that. I mean, it's still literally Impact in the top lane. And then, players like Jensen and Xmithy like playing in your other roles. Like it's very easy to slot in and just not be a total fuck up and play like your ADC Malphite and still look like a very good player on a strong team like that, I'd think.
yeah, I would also just want to give bonus points for Danny because I believe he went straight from amateur to here, no academy in between, and so I guess shout outs to Evil Geniuses programs that they have for having a third roster of scouting amateur teams and amateur talent and participating in amateur leagues as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just bringing him straight through. Like a lot of 100 Thieves talents, I believe, are like that as well. I believe like there's somebody named Ken V who's like really hyped in that center sense as well.
Yeah, I mean even Poom
So
last year, right? He was like one of those guys straight out of amateur, and he obviously didn't have as good a
yeah,
time because 100 Thieves was much worse last year. But
yeah. So it's very interesting. I don't have a favorite pick or a personal pick, but I I've noticed some of the newcomers doing really well.
yeah, true.
And then since we went on that whole thing about rookie of the split, we can also talk about MVP if you've got some kind of like favorites for yourself.
I think I don't know. For me, it feels hard. I want to just say Spica, and I think that's a good choice. Like I think Spica's probably going to win just like logically, for a few reasons. Because I think he had obviously a really good split. TSM ended first place. He looked good on the team last split when the team didn't look as good, kind of as a whole. And in this split, I think as the team meshed more, even when there were like more like rough spots, you saw in those rough spots, it always felt like there was one or two games, the weeks where it could have easily been like 3 weeks or 1 and 2 weeks got flipped to, a 1 and 2 week and a 2-1 week because one of the games Spica just had a huge pop off like carry, like I'm dragging this team across to the Nexus kind of performance. So I think that's like just his consistency plus the pop off moments is pretty good for Spica. And I don't think there's anybody else on TSM that like fights him for any MVP votes. Like it's very easy to see. Like if I had to pick a person from TSM, I think most people would pick Spica, right? And then the other contenders that are like Closer from 100 Thieves or Abadage, or Impact and Jizuke, I both have heard like get some nods from Evil Geniuses, and they've looked really
Yes.
good. I think that's probably if I had to pick another one, it'd probably be like Jizuke. I think out of Evil Geniuses, but then there's still points for like I think Cloud9 Fudge is probably the other person that would get the most hype, and he's kind of like Spica, where he's been the most consistent performer and had the carry moments on Cloud9. But I think that they've just had so many struggles on like Cloud9 as a team that it's hard to say convincingly that he was like an MVP if they had so much struggle already.
Yeah. To backpedal a bit, that kind of reminds me. Fudge is probably rookie of the year. But
He
anyways,
I don't know. I don't know if NA lets that happen though, because he played in OS, and I think that NA doesn't let OS players like that. Like that was a world's qualifying region, and I think that counts as not being able to be a rookie.
it counts as there's certain pre-qualifications for being able to be considered as a rookie,
Yeah, I think I
and
think that
that's one
varies
of
on the
them.
league
Yeah.
because I think there was a big joke that I think it was this year or maybe last year that that Viper on EDG, who was the Griffin AD carry, right? when he went to LPL and EDG, and I mean like they went to fucking Worlds on Griffin, and then he goes to EDG and LPL and played really well and got like a Rookie of the Split or of the Year award, and it's like, okay, well he's like he's not a rookie, right? Like we know he's not a rookie, right, guys? But LPL doesn't care about that. It's only like LPL if you've played an LPL before. But
Right.
I think that LCS and LEC are like they count performances in Worlds qualifying regions. So since he played in OCE, I don't think he counts.
Darn. And they're not even there anymore. So
Right?
what good was that for?
Rip.
Do you have anything else to say about the standings before we can move on to the playoffs? Any
Um,
surprise placements for how it ended out in the end?
I guess I think I want to give a couple shout outs. Like just if you want to go, I don't know if you know if you didn't watch any games last week, you just now this is the first time you've heard anything about the LCS, and I don't know why our podcast would be the only thing about the LCS you listen to. Um, but if you want to go back and watch like just one or two games from this week, I would say probably the big ones is the I think the C9 versus TL game from Sunday was actually like really hype. That was like the game to make. It ended up not mattering, right? Because EG won their next game, but that was like a really high level game. I felt like in a fight for third place, like potentially for both of those teams, and it just was like a really that felt like playoff leagues, like playoff LCS already, and it was on the last day of the split, so it's pretty close. But that was a good taste of like both teams like really going at it, and it was a back and forth game. I still can't believe that TL kind of threw that. That felt like they were getting it handed to them a little bit at the beginning, but they just couldn't deal with a lot of it, a lot of the pressure that C9 was exerting. So that was like a highlight game for me, I think, this last week, just due to the stakes and the excitement of it. And then I think the other one that was fun to watch, the last game of the split was CLG versus FlyQuest, and it's CLG who's already been summarily eliminated from playoffs against FlyQuest and CLG. I don't know, like it's so funny because CLG was just so bad all split, and Golden Guardians is now relying on this ass team to beat FlyQuest, who's not looked great recently, and obviously wasn't that great all season long, but it should beat CLG. I feel like, and then CLG pulled it together, and they were flashing Golden Guardians emotes all game long. Playing a bunch of comfort picks like Braxon Elise, Demonte and Echo was fun to watch. They're just going in, and it was a fun game to close out the split and get Golden Guardians their playoff spot.
Yeah, that was a kaboom moment for sure,
Yeah.
dude. Like, it feels bad that they took out FlyQuest from the eighth place spot and then gave it to Golden Guardians instead because they lost that game.
Yeah, I feel like Golden Guardians deserved it, but I mean, obviously, it's the same thing. Like FlyQuest just needed to win one more fucking game, and they couldn't do it, and they had many chances. So
Agreed, agreed. I think a couple of other things I'm looking to shout out here is first of all, it's surprising to see Cloud9 fall from first place in spring down to fourth place in summer, and the standings are close. But you know, what if they had Sven from the beginning of the split? Like nobody played perfect in summer, and there's just a lot of games, so uh, there's a lot of losses to go around. But if if Cloud9 had 12 losses in the summer split and they just took off like five of those games and gave them back to Sven, like what could have happened to the standings if he was around from the start, And then same thing with Jenkins and Alfari for TL, and unfortunate that Santorin had to take a couple weeks off, but what if like these teams just had the rosters that they're taking to the playoffs? Could they just had them from the start of the summer split?
yeah, yeah, that's a tough one.
So it's a what if, but just looking at how close some of the standings are, it's just interesting to think about for me. But otherwise, like, from spring split, we had EG at sixth place move into third place, so that was a big rising for them. But otherwise, the top six teams are still the top 16s from the spring split, just in a different order.
Yeah,
And a little surprising to see TSM up there after Cloud9 and TL did so well in lock-in tournament as well as the spring split, and then just see them, I guess, I don't know if they've fallen off, but they're definitely in better shape at the end of week 9 than they were at the beginning of the summer split. But it's interesting to see the both of those teams fall in the standings, and then that leaves room for 100 Thieves and EG to come right up.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that one. I think just looking at it now, we have it laid out with the summer records. I think it's really funny of all the people. Like, I feel like there were people complaining, right, still about like, oh, I don't like this whole the combined records thing. Like, it's a big slog. Like, spring split shouldn't matter. I want to go back to that timeline. And if you look down just the summer records, it's the same as like the ultimate placements, right? Like, pretty much. There's one spot where Immortals and Dignitas would be flipped between sixth and seventh place for the overall placements at the end of the split, and it's like it's still it still doesn't change that much, right? Like if you went by just summer as opposed to the whole combined record. So I think that's pretty funny that it ended up that way.
Yeah, that's really interesting,
All
actually.
right, dude. Well, I think we beat the regular season to the death. I mean, it's already dead, so we're only like let's get into playoffs.
Yeah, so the LCS 2021 Summer Championship playoffs starts next week, and it will run from August 7th to August 29th, which is so pretty much the whole month long, which is pretty crazy, actually. And oh, and also that reminds me that I believe Akshan is disabled for this playoffs, and he's also disabled at Worlds,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a shame. I think the same thing kind of happened last year with Yone, where there was ample time. I think Lilia and Yone kind of came out like in similar succession, but Lilia was let through, and Yone was not last year.
Yeah,
So that something interesting like that kind of happened. So we won't be seeing Akshan at Worlds apparently,
yeah, that
which
does
is
feel.
probably for the better.
I think you're right. It's probably for the better, but it does feel kind of bad. Like I think everyone felt the same way about Yon, right? Like we as players get now like basically 2 months or 2 or 3 months, right? Where it's like the champ has been out, you've played against it in solo queue, you've seen everybody already play it except the LCS and any other pros, right? And then it'll be come Worlds, it'll be October, and you're watching a game that is just notably absent of this champ that you'll see a lot of otherwise.
Yeah, which is it's pretty weird. But coming up on August 7th, we've got EG versus Dignitas, and then on August 8th, we've got C9 versus TL. So I think it's a pretty exciting first weekend, honestly.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah,
oh yeah, we could talk about those a bit if you want.
yeah. I mean, we might as well, right? We'll be back before any other games happen. So I think it's a good point to talk about them. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, good point.
Um, I don't know. Definitely a good first weekend. I think. EG versus Dig feels like that one should be like obviously EG favored. I mean, EG tied with 100 Thieves and TSM for the best summer record. Obviously, maybe skewed a little bit by the last day of games. That could have shaken things out a little differently, but still, they had a great summer and were just on like an absolute tear to end the split, like the last 4 or 5 weeks. So I don't think Dignitas really has a chance, but they've shown some scrappiness. I think Acadian's been playing really well the last few weeks, and like Afro and Neo are still like a really good bot lane. Um, I don't know. I don't think I trust Fake God versus Impact or Yasui against Jizuke really at all. Like those are pretty heavily favored in EG's camp. But it could be a series. They could make it a series for sure.
Yeah, I think if anything, it'll be really good stage experience for EG. Which, now that I think about it, I'm gonna assume this is gonna be at home again. But anyways,
I don't know
I think it'll
actually.
be
I
just great experience.
I
You think they'll be back in
I
person?
think so. I feel like these last couple weeks have just been like it was like last week, not like 2 days ago, but a week ago was cause
I think I was asking you if you think they'll be back in the studio.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they will be back in the studio probably, right? Like a week ago was because like somebody or a couple people at Immortals tested positive, right? And so they went out, and then there was like some LCS adjacent staff that got tested like at Riot. or that tested positive. So then they closed the studio down out of like caution. And I feel like this last week having it at home was probably just carryover from that being remote. But they should be like safe to go back 2 weeks later, right? I think that would make
Yeah, I
sense.
just hope the lights are adjustable for Cloud9.
True. I mean, Perks has been wearing a hat.
But
He can be caps.
yeah, he has hat permissions.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I think it'll be good stage experience for both teams. And honestly, like when I think about it, I agree with you. I don't think across the board the EG players will match up against, or the Dig players will match up against EG. But I'm just happy to see that roster of players that Dignitas has, and that they're they're in the playoffs. Although 8 teams get to playoffs, but they're in the playoffs, and I'm happy to see those players um, making a name for themselves.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then even yeah, they've got some veterans like Acadian and Afromoon, but they've also got a ton of quote unquote rookies as well, with top, mid, and bottom, in fact. And so they're majority rookie, if you include Fade God. So yeah, I'm happy to see them in the middle of the pack, and if they want to prove themselves, this is a great chance against somebody who has been on the rise at the end of the split.
Yeah, and if they've got anybody that knows how to make a playoffs run on, less than, on a more dark horse team, I guess it's definitely Acadian and Afromu. After what was it? Was it 2019 spring when Acadian was on TSM and they went
Yeah,
right? They took TL to Game 5 finals when they were having a rough split otherwise. And then with Afromu, like even making like back in the day, like the MSI run with CLG and stuff like that. Like these guys definitely know how to play in playoffs, so it's good for them. Hopefully, they'll have a good showing. And even then, you're still they made it to upper bracket. Even the 8 teams, even though this is 8 teams playoffs, right? They made upper bracket. They made the 6 teams. Even if it was an old format, they'd be in there.
for sure, for sure. And then next up on for the Sunday game, we've got C9 versus TL, who, like you said, they played on Sunday and it was kind of a close game. And I agree. I think Jensen was giving a lot of hope for TL that game, but then also just the overall team play for C9 just looked a lot better. And so both teams have got great things going for them. And Santorin is just recently back in the squad, so he's got one more week of practice and cohesion with his team, and we'll see if they can get it together and put up a great best of 5 series.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big telling point for TL. Like, I C9, I think I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in either of these teams. I think Sven had an interview this week where he was saying that. I mean, like obviously he's on C9, but he was like, "Yeah, C9's going to win it all, obviously." And then it's like EG and TSM or somebody else that are the top 3 teams. I think he was like EG is definitely really like a top 3, and then it's like TL or TSM that are going to coin flip the world spot, something like that. Heavily paraphrased. Uh, but I wouldn't be so hype on either of them, honestly. I think C9 has yet still to prove that they're back to normal or, like really good. They've had flashes, and like we said, Fudge is in the MVP running. I think he's been pretty good, but we've not seen that. I think from like Perks and Blabber consistently. Sven and Vulcan, I think, are still really good. I don't know that I've paid attention enough to see if they've had like int moments or not recently. But I think C9 has more of a chance of being like at a higher level here, and I think TL definitely. I mean, they just got Santorin back. That's great for them, but like you said, it's only been a week or two at the time that they'll play this match. So I see it as a lot harder for them to pull things back together when they've already looked like they've had a bunch of issues. And losing this last game to C9, they didn't look so hot. Like there was a lot of stuff handed to them, and they've tried pretty hard. I mean, Jensen, yeah, like you said, giving them a lot of hope that they could win that game, and then just it didn't work out. It was maybe a draft difference, in Jensen being able to play the game, but it should be exciting. But I'd be worried. I'd be worried for either of the teams out of that match that lose, because I think even though they'll go and play Golden Guardians, they'll probably win that match no matter what. It's not a great spot to be in going into losers bracket that early for either of these teams.
Yeah, I think out of these two teams, I would give it to C9 to receive a kind of a playoffs buff here. First of all, like you said, that Santorin is just coming back, and this is just going to be like his second week of practice with the team again, and so it's going to be hard for them to, for first of all, for him to adapt to kind of the new jungle meta. With I don't know how much Diana he's played, for example,
Right.
and so
He still
forth.
thinks
And
it's
then
gonna be
secondly,
Udyr only. He's just gonna insta lock.
yeah, and then secondly, um, I'm just I'm hoping for more consistency for both Blabber and Perks. Those are my two problem players for Cloud9, and so if they're able to pull it through, just all it takes is 3 games, not all five,
Right.
or really just get it together in this week. Not it's playoffs now, no more messing around, kind of thing. Then, if they really put it into hyper gear and find their way for this patch and this meta, then I feel like Cloud9 can pull it through for TL, and then we'll see. I'll judge how they do against the how the winner of the series will play against TSM next week. Just based off this match, but based off how this summer split went, I would have agreed with you. Where like I'm kind of worried how they would face against 100 Thieves or TSM at this time.
Yeah, I do think it's funny when I think I mentioned it when I talked about the park thing, but TSM against both of these teams, right? Against C9, they went 4-1 over the whole regular season, like all 5 round robins. Against TL, they went 5-0. TL has not won a game against. I think they've won like one game against EG or one game against 100 Thieves, but the other 4 teams above them, they have not won a game. It's
Yeah, it's really bad
crazy
for
how
TL.
bad they've done against the teams above them in the standings. So they like yeah, they definitely it definitely has to be some kind of turnaround for TL to make a shot at any games in this series, honestly.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them at all. And then like you said earlier, we'll be back again after these round of games take place. But basically, the winner of EG and Dignitas will go on to play
100 Thieves.
100
Yeah.
Thieves. Yeah, and the loser of that match will go on to face IMT next Thursday. And then for the C9 and TL match, the winner will go face TSM, and the loser will go face Golden Guardians in the lower bracket. And so I feel like of these top 4 teams, even if they lose their first upper bracket, I wouldn't be worried about them in the lower bracket. Other than Dignitas versus IMT could be interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
But even then, like I might still give it to Dignitas in that case. And so, to start off with these 4 teams, and then they get to play one series, each. I think I have more faith in them to keep seeing these teams a lot more throughout the playoffs and not get knocked out 2 games in a row or 2 losses in a row or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think you put it you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think Immortals is the scary team in the bottom bracket. Like maybe some team's going to go against Golden Guardians and just get absolutely fucking blasted by Blazov Tom Kench mid again. Um, but I think come game 2 you just ban that and then you probably don't lose to Golden Guardians. So we'll see how things go. I think the other big thing that there's a talk like coming into this weekend, right? It's like that upper bracket match or the upper bracket side between C9TL and TSM, right? We talked already about TSM only needs to win one series and they're into Worlds, right? It's the top 3 that place in the summer playoffs that go to Worlds for NA. So already just based on the bracket, we know that there's only going to be one team between TSM, Cloud9, or not one team. There's already going to be one team that is going to miss Worlds between TSM, Cloud9, and TL, just the way the bracket is set up, which is kind of daunting for those orgs. I feel like you normally most splits, if you go into it and someone's going to say, yeah, it's probably TSM, C9, TL is the top 3, unless you're a hardcore CLG fan, then you're like, this is your CLG makes it. But it'll be interesting that they're like kind of mathematically one of them has to go already.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm just happy that EG can have their first chance at making a Worlds run, and then 100 Thieves, I'm happy that they've come into the league and they've put up several Worlds performances before. They went the first year with the Afro Mu on the team, and then now they're back here again making another Worlds run. And so I'm glad to have them as part of the league and not being one of the legacy teams like TSM, Cloud9, or TL.
Yeah, definitely. I hope that they put together a good showing for playoffs because I will. I mean, we'll probably talk about that next week too. But I haven't been instilled with a lot of faith in them in the last few weeks, so we'll see how they do.
Yeah, I agree. Their regular split play was really good at the beginning of the summer split, but then looking at their roster again, they've got superstars in the mid lane, Abadage, but then over the course of the year, like Closer and Someday have looked okay, or Closer has looked really good and more recently, and he's looked really good in the past, but I don't he hasn't gone to Worlds as long as he's played in NA, right?
Yeah,
And then same thing for FBI. Same thing for Huhi in the support role.
right.
They're still like a lot of them are still vying for their chance to go to the Worlds from NA. Although Abadage, I'll give a slide because it's his first split here.
Right.
But all these other players have been trying for a while, including Someday. I don't think he's been to Worlds ever since he's come to NA.
Was he
Which is
not
what, like,
on the 100 Thieves roster that went? Was he on Dig that year? Who was that? It was Cody Sun Afro. Um, shit, that was honestly the only people I remember.
maybe I'm wrong about that. Yeah,
So,
now that you mention it, I think they do consider Someday their like longtime player.
yeah, I think he was. I think it was Afro Someday, Meteos, Cody Sun, Ryu. That was it in that split where they went to Worlds. So Sunday's been there with them, but it'll be a good return to form for him if he makes it again.
Oh dang. Yeah. So 2018 was the last time that he went. Yeah, I'm glad he can. I will delete everything I said beforehand. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean that's crazy, but I would still consider a lot of that team as underdogs, considering their form in the past year, and then now they get another chance after flopping out last year, and so I'm happy, and also last split as well. So I'm happy to see 100 Thieves in the contention for the world spot.
Yeah, for sure.
And Evil Geniuses as well. I'm happy to see them make a shot for Worlds because with the way that their roster has been playing more recently, I'm more excited to see them as well. Although in Spring Split and the beginning of Summer Split, I was kind of getting a CLG feeling there of like, how do you have these players of like Impact, Ignar, and Jizuke? Like, how does that not turn out to be a great team?
Right.
And maybe Jizuke is a coin flip sometimes, but I'm glad he's found more consistency as of late, or at least what he's been able to find comfort with a lot of Rise picks. But I'm glad they've been able to make the roster work.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to get at.
yeah, I agree. I still remember. I feel like last year they had a pretty similar roster, right? Just like minus Impact plus Kumo, and minus Danny plus whatever ADC they had last year.
I think it was Bang. Yeah.
Oh,
Surprisingly.
right. Yeah, Bang
I
was on the
believe it
team.
was
Holy
Bang.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But yeah, I mean, like they had a pretty good roster last year, and but the thing that was weird was when it came summer playoffs, and Jizuke on that team was, I mean, he was Jizuke. He was still doing kind of what he did this split, but with a lot more inting. Um, and they brought in fucking Golden Glue for playoffs as like the last ditch effort to make Worlds. Like, and I think that's just crazy that you look now and it's a year later and it's like Jizuke is an MVP candidate for this team that's, a favorite to win the playoffs. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, so it's good. I think it's good
Yeah.
that Peter Dunn came in and figured out how to make use of him, I guess, and turn this team into a real contender in this summer split. So, yeah, it'll be exciting.
Yeah, it is interesting to look back on that, and you would think that like after that happens to you, he would have gone back to Europe.
Right, like I'd be like, "Fuck this team! They brought in fucking Golden Glue over me, Jizuke. Like, who do they think they are? I'm gonna go play for Schalke and then get relegated, or not relegated, but
Yeah,
disbanded."
there might be more implications with that with the way imports rolled out.
Yeah.
But I believe also, I think Jizuke said on Summoning Insight just a couple weeks ago that the reason why he came to NA or that he stayed at NA is because he wasn't getting offers from EU teams. Just for some reason, they didn't want to play with him. and like none of the 1 through 10 or 1 through 8, how many teams they have, however many teams they have, they didn't want him apparently, which is just kind of surprising. Like you would think, an eighth, ninth, or 10th place team would want him, especially since I believe he had gone to Worlds just before that, in 2019. So
Yeah,
yeah, just really interesting, really really great to see his career trajectory, and then we'll see if he can make it back to Worlds this year from NA, because not a lot of European players get to do that, honestly.
that's true. Yeah, it'll definitely be a good story for EG. I think I'm rooting for them as like my dark horse pick for this whole split. I think TSM has a pretty good shot with how a lot of these other teams have looked, but I think it'll be like TSM EG, probably in winners finals, and then probably back in finals again. I don't know who will win their first matchup, but that'd be my guess if I had to put money on it.
All right, and then anything else you want to say about the playoffs before we wrap this one up?
No, I think I'm good. I think we got a lot. We definitely talked a lot more than we thought we would.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so we could do some picks of the week and then sign this one off.
Oh shit, yeah, we didn't even do picks of the week. Fuck. All right, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so I can get started here. I've got two picks of the week here because one of them is kind of troll. The first one is that video on the League of Legends subreddit about a Syndra Warwick combo where you grab like a camp or like a minion monster with your W, and then if Warwick cues it at a certain timing, the if you hold the Q, it'll like follow your target, and you can just like follow it through Syndra picking it up and flinging it as well, so you'll cover like a ton of distance. And I would actually think that's not possible because I'm pretty sure that like it should be untargetable when Syndra picks it up with her W. So I kind of don't understand how that interaction is possible in the first place. But it was just a really cool clip that I saw, and I don't think it's replicable with like by any means. And if anything, I would think that's like a Chinese TikTok video that's set up from start to finish.
I don't know, dude. I saw at least one follow up of like just some random duo doing it in ranked. So I'd bet money that you could pretty consistently do it. Not that I would probably try, but I think you can.
Okay, yeah, I suppose it takes two to tango, so maybe you could get the timing down and for like flex Q or something.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was really cool to see. So that's my one pick of the week, and then secondly, my real pick of the week. I've probably picked this before, but I'm gonna pick Twisted Fate for the first time or again because C9 played it, Perks played it versus TL, and I feel like that's really a lot of Perks style, and I'm glad to see that more players allegedly around the world are picking up TF again, even though there's not particularly any buffs that came through. It's just like people respecting or wanting to use his global pressure again. And he also goes well with Everfrost, so he's a great season 11 champion, or season 11 champion, and so I'm great to see him back in the play. And sometimes I fantasize about me playing solo queue again, and I would probably just spam Twisted Fate, Galio, or Malzahar over and over, because I have boomer hands. So Twisted Fate is gonna be my pick of the week for episode 24.
All right, dude. I'll see your season 11 champion. I'm doing air quotes right now. Season 11 champion Twisted Fate, and give you a real season 11 champion that's not actually a season 11 champion. And my pick of the week is going to be Felios. I think we've seen in the last few weeks we've seen some resurgence of the pick. I think you're seeing a lot of people that are going, like when it first happened, it was like I think Danny was doing it a lot, where he was going the collector second item. And with the buffs they made to his lethality, like passive scaling that you get off your skill points, you can do like a lot of damage against squishies, like really early in the game, like at that 2 item spike, level 11 spike. With that collector build, you're seeing I don't know. He's really fun to play. I think if you've not played Aphelios before, um, he's it feels complicated. He's got all these different interactions with his guns, but you can look up. There's like a strat kind of to get a good gun cycle going. So you most of the time have a a good combo or a synergistic combo. Like you're not just using like gravitum chakrams or something like that in an important team fight. So there's a lot of things that you can learn about him. He obviously has a lot of different little intricacies and interactions. But you go like Conquer on him, you get a bunch of lifesteal items, and then the lethality build. Like you can go if you go Shield Bow into or Shield Bow or Kraken Slayer into a Collector or a Lord Doms if you're against a lot of tanks or high health enemies, and then into an IE third, and you just pump out damage. It's really I think he's a really fun champ to play if you find him interesting.
Yeah, I've heard about that lethality build, and it's kind of interesting. You can get lethality from leveling up, and so at some point that was bound to be abused, and I'm happy that that's taking place right now. That you can finally embrace that and just like destroy people.
Yeah,
even at level 11.
I think it's funny because I think there were still people like when it first happened, when they first made the buff, there were people like, oh shit, you could just max the lethality first, like that'll be so broken, and it's like, no, don't do that. You don't get any AD with your first item. It's bad. But yeah, I think people definitely kind of figured it out. Like you still max like the Q first, the AD scaling first, and then you can go into lethality second. You don't really need a ton of attack speed on that champ. A lot of your like damage comes from using your abilities correctly and getting a fat ulti off and stuff like that. So as you stack up Conquer, you just end up with a bunch of AD and you can pump damage for sure.
That's nice, dude. I'm glad that you're comfortable with the Aphelios because I still do look at that champion. I'm like, dude, how the fuck would I ever get through this? I would definitely need to partake in some sort of webinar or something to learn about like all the different gun combinations and how to get into a good cycle, and then like how do you get red white, like the ultimate combination.
Yeah, I'll tell you the trick. This is the only part that I remember, and then I'm sure there's like ways to figure out like how to get back to it if you fuck it up. But the way you're supposed to do it on like the initial cycle is to just you cycle through stuff in the order that you get it. You use your red gun first, and then you go like so it cycles red, green, purple, blue, white. So you use the red gun first, and then you have like green purple, which is really good in lane to like set up like an early gank or like a level 4 fight. Then you have green purple, you use green, and then you get red, or then you get purple, blue, and you just use them in order that you like unlock them. So you use then like the gravitum first, and then you use the infernum, and use that out, and then you'll end up with chakram like red white, and then from there you try to use your red first, like don't like waste your chakrams really early, so you use through red, and then you have green white, so you cycle from red white to green white, which is another really powerful combo with chakrams. And then after you use up your chakrams from that, which you probably do from putting down the like green sniper turrets, then you'll go back to like a good cycle of like green, purple, purple, blue. It just like figures itself out for that. And then if you just use stuff in the order that it comes in, then you'll stay on like that pretty good cycle of combos. Write that down quick. Keep the notes. Other than
Yeah,
that,
I didn't catch any of that, but thankfully it'll be available on your favorite podcast platform and for you to listen back to. That's going to be it for episode 24 of On the Hunt, a League of Legends podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to our podcast in the service that you are listening to us on, if you haven't already. We'd appreciate it if you also gave us a rating or hit the like button to show us some support. You can find us on YouTube as well as your podcast player of choice, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify and so forth. We'll see you all next week for another episode of On the Hunt.
Episode 24. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant.